Hello guys, what is going on? Son of Chelsea back here again for another edition of Let's Talk Chelsea. Hope you're doing well and keeping safe on this Thursday. Very naturally speaking about Frank Lampard's future in today's episode. Tons of reports yesterday to get into regarding Lampard's future and also potential replacements if he was to be sacked by Chelsea. Before we get into any of that, I want to ask you guys, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button and a notification bell so you never miss an upload. Also, do me a massive favor on this Thursday by hitting that like button because it helps out the channel as well. So let's get into all the reports. Crisis in Chelsea, two words that seem to be bonded together forever, no matter what. So Matt Law reporting last night that Frank Lampard is fighting to save his Chelsea job as Roman Abramovich considers his options. It goes into how Julian Nagelsmann is the top target to replace Lampard. Miguel Delaney in The Independent, Chelsea not eyeing interim manager to replace under pressure boss. And Jacob Steinberg in The Guardian, clock ticking for Frank Lampard as Chelsea identify possible replacements. And The Athletic went with this piece regarding why Chelsea's next manager is likely to speak German. I think there's a lot to get into in terms of the current situation Chelsea find themselves in. I felt this tweet from Matt Law really summed up my feelings, and I think a lot of people's feelings, and sort of hit the nail on the head. This is what he had to say. What's become clear to me is that whoever is in charge of Chelsea, and I still believe it should be Frank Lampard, they have to build a culture as well as a team. And building a culture is going to be much more difficult than assembling lots of talented players together. I think the thing that's most difficult for me at the moment is not only the fact that it is Frank Lampard and there's that emotional connection there, and whenever you feel like a manager is about to be sacked or could be sacked, it's quite hard because you've invested a lot of time and energy into their project, sort of a tired cliche word at this point in regards to modern football, but you feel that, you know, that coming to an end, you're going to have to instill sort of more energy and belief into some sort of new vision. And the feeling that's quite exhausting at the moment is it feels all too familiar. I feel like I've been here and feeling similar things under Sarri, under Conte, under different managers before him. I feel that's my issue in the risk of sacking Lampard, is that we'll be here again in 2 years. I've said this before, but I'll say it again. And I feel that when I'm seeing similar issues under different managers, I feel that it gets to a point where the magic fix of sacking a manager may not be the magic fix anymore like it was 10 years ago. I think there are many Chelsea fans who feel that we're still in sort of the late noughties where you have an amazing squad of players that can almost manage themselves, like JT, like Frank, like Didier. And no matter who the manager is, they're winners, they're born winners on the pitch, and they can go out there and make something happen, as we saw many times before. I've now seen 3 or 4 seasons under 3 different coaches, and I'm talking about Conte in 17-18, Sarri in 18-19, and Lampard in 19-20, and also now 2021, the way this season is shaping up too, that we're battling for Champions League qualification. We have a really bright start to the year where it looks like Chelsea could compete for the Premier League title. But then winter hits and we have some dreadful defeats. And not only by the time we get to spring or sort of late winter, we're talking about the manager's future being under threat, you know, his job being under threat, but also just trying to desperately claw our way into the top 4. Luckily, on 2 of the 3 last seasons, we have qualified for the Champions League under Sarri and Frank Lampard last year. And the most exhausting thing for me right now is that feeling of hopelessness that the club will be stuck in the same cycle forever without anything changing drastically. Whilst we get further from the Premier League title, we have a jumbled squad containing players from different regimes that don't fit the current manager's style of play. You know, we get back to the lack of experience from Frank, but the club knew that when they appointed him. They knew the risk of appointing such a young coach. I don't think I can be that surprised, or many of you could be that surprised, that Lampard is learning on the job. He's suffering from things other coaches haven't in the past. But then when the club back him so heavily in the summer, it's almost like, well, if you've backed him to that point, surely you want to see that vision out. And it feels a little bit premature to me and a little bit silly to turn around and blame Lampard for that because you appointed the guy in the first place. It's a bit like Maurizio Sarri, you know, getting annoyed that he will take a little bit longer to instill his style of play, when if you watched him at Napoli, and rather than just watching his final year at Napoli when everything clicked in terms of style of play, what he needed to succeed, Antonio Conte having that conflict with the board. I think about this with Thomas Tuchel, you know, bringing in coaches that have a track record, trying to firmly understand what they did at their previous clubs. I guess the argument currently is that with this current squad and not having as many aging players within it, that there is a potential for a longer term project under a different coach because of the young players within this squad. Mason Mount, Kai Havertz, Timo Werner, Ben Chilwell, Reece James, Tammy Abraham, Callum Hudson-Odoi, even Hakim Ziyech, despite being 27. You know, there is potential for longer term growth here, which I absolutely understand, which may mean that sacking a coach and bringing a new one in may be different. You know, we may finally break the cycle with someone different, like a Nagelsmann, for instance. But I don't think you can dismiss that worry, because if I'm seeing similar trends under different coaches of different levels of experience, that concerns me that there's something deeper here rather than just the current person in the hot seat. I feel just generally with Lampard though, and it's a sense I'm getting now, I don't think he's being as brave as he was last year. And that may be down to what last season was in terms of the expectation level being much lower and the understanding it was going to be a challenging year for Chelsea. But I'm seeing things within games compared to last season that just worry me. I really dislike the way Lampard stands on a touchline, has his arms folded when things aren't going right. And I just, psychologically, I wonder what effect that is having on his young players at the moment who need that leadership. And it feels like Lampard last year would make swift decisions in games. He'd make 3 subs at half-time away to Leicester in the FA Cup quarter-final when it was 0-0. But he'd see the damage there being done and he'd make a swift move. I saw him switch up tactics and switch up formation sometimes, go to a 3-back system when we were going through a rough patch, or even in the other sense. Think about the Arsenal away game. We won 2-1 late on with that Tammy Abraham winner. I think it was about half an hour in, we were 1-0 down. Frank started with a 3-4-3, saw it wasn't working, saw Arsenal were exploiting it over and over again and could only see the game moving in one direction, and he just went, screw this, I'm bringing on Jorginho, we're going 4-3-3, we're getting a hold of this game once again. I didn't see that against Leicester. I saw a game that was turning in one direction, and I've seen this over and over again now this season in this current patch we're in, where I'm seeing a game move away from Chelsea. It looks like we're being dominated in possession. We're being dominated in transition. It looks like the opposition are only going to score more goals. Lampard stands on a touchline, doesn't change anything. He's rigidly stuck to this 4-3-3 now. I understood it beyond, say, Everton and Wolves when we had 2 defeats back-to-back, and I understood sticking with that formation. I don't understand what's changed this season where Lampard can't make those radical changes. I felt at times last year he really implemented players, fringe players, and got the best out of them. I think about Ross Barkley, for instance. Out of any Chelsea coach, Lampard got the best out of Ross Barkley. Players that you don't expect to feature a lot in his team. He seemed last season to get the most out of at times in big games where he needed a result. I'm not seeing that this year, and I think that's why a lot of fans, rightly, I think at this point, are concerned about where the club's going, and concerned that Lampard, given his level of experience and just what they're seeing on the pitch, you can't justify these performances at the moment. I don't want to watch Chelsea lose games like that over and over again. It's just horrible to watch. It's horrible to see a team that seems mentally shot, mentally gone after the first goal goes in, 6 minutes in, and especially after the board invested that much in the summer, are not going to tolerate that for much longer. I think it's a complex problem, and unfortunately you can listen to say people wanting Lampard to stay or wanting Lampard to go, and I think you can make very strong points on either side, to be honest, in terms of just for Lampard's own sake at the moment, in terms of his coaching career long term. I've seen people make that point very strongly, but also thinking about, if we do sack Lampard, are we going to see similar trends again and again and find ourselves in similar issues without sort of really facing up to the issues we've seen in the long term regarding Chelsea? I want to hear your opinions. In regards to Lampard's future, we're not sure. It'd be typical of me to record this video and then I go online and see Lampard has been sacked. I feel now we're at Thursday and we do have a game on Sunday. It looks like Lampard, at least for those 2 games, I think Luton and Wolves may be given time. But if he loses against, Luton, but especially if he doesn't get a result against Wolves, I can't see him surviving much longer. Let me know your opinions. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. If you did enjoy it, hit that subscribe button and the notification bell so you never miss an upload. Follow me on Twitter @SonofChelsea. Have a great day, and I'll see you again.